Rama asked, "O sage, kindly tell me the form, the nature, the location of the jiva and its relation to the Supreme Self." So the jiva is the individual, notions of an individual psyche in a body and so on. When we're told that there's one self, one absolute consciousness, well, how do we account for all the apparent individual consciousnesses wandering around? Vasishta replied, "O Ram, it is the infinite consciousness that is known as the jiva when it becomes aware of itself as the object on account of the notion it entertains of itself. It is also known as chit, or pure consciousness." So the infinite consciousness is chit, or pure consciousness, and this is just simply consciousness. Consciousness by itself does not get caught up in conceptual thought. Consciousness by itself is simply awareness. And awareness identifies with whatever it's aware of. It's a bit like space and objects which arise within space. Space is empty, but when there's something in it, the space becomes the object. We still say there's space there, don't we? Even though that space has been taken up. This cup exists in space, but where's the space gone? The cup's taken it up, hasn't it? The space, has it been displaced? If there's no space, this cup couldn't exist. So in a way the space becomes this cup, doesn't it? It's an interesting analogy. And this is like awareness. There's pure awareness. Awareness is what allows everything to be. But when you're aware of something, there's only that thing you're aware of. And that's easy enough to think about in terms of objects. But what about ideas, notions, thoughts? When these arise in awareness, awareness identifies with these. And thoughts generate thoughts, notions generate notions. And this is what happens, this is what spins the whole thing off. This is what sets the whole thing spinning. So when the jiva becomes aware of itself as the object, this is when awareness identifies with something, or picks out something to identify with. This jiva is neither a subatomic particle, nor is it gross and physical, nor void, nor anything else. It's sometimes described as a subatomic particle, or as even smaller than a subatomic particle. This is to give some idea of its subtlety. But it's as subtle as an idea. If you think of ideas, and ideas have tremendous power, tremendous force. So we can't say it doesn't exist. But in some ways it doesn't exist either, because it's not gross and physical. It's not void or anything else. What is the existential status of an idea? We can't really say, can we? And this is the same as the idea of the self. The omnipresent pure consciousness is known as jiva when it experiences its own being. When it starts reflecting upon itself, when it starts conceptualizing, this is when the infinite pure consciousness, the chit, starts to separate itself from itself. It is more minute than an atom and larger than the largest. So this is the pure consciousness we're talking about. It contains everything. We can only say there is something when we're aware of it. Even as an idea of something like dragon, a dragon, we can become aware of the idea of a dragon. So not only does awareness encompass everything which can exist, but it also encompasses things which don't exist. It is all, and it is pure consciousness. Do we say that space disappears when something exists within it? We don't, do we? We say the space is still there even though it's been taken up by a cup. So in the same way, everything that we're aware of is in consciousness, and in fact there's only consciousness. Is this not like saying though that there's only space and nothing in it? Well, according to the scientists, most things are space. Our bodies, objects, are made up of mainly space. So the analogy perhaps breaks down a bit there. But maybe we could talk about energy, couldn't we? Everything is energy. All matter is energy. What is the relationship between energy and space? I don't know if the physicists have looked into that, but that might be a useful line of inquiry. I don't need to bother about that here. So everything is all. So the omnipresent pure consciousness is known as the jiva when it experiences its own being. It is all, and it is pure consciousness. That is known as the jiva by the wise. So if we pursue the notion of jiva and we look into it, we find that it's actually non-different from the infinite consciousness. Whatever object is experienced here is but its own reflection, so experienced by it. In other words, it's all of the nature of consciousness experiencing itself. Whatever it thinks of from moment to moment, that it experiences here and there. It's very easy to get into fantasies about materializing objects out of nothing. It almost seems to be saying that, doesn't it? But whatever it thinks of from moment to moment, that means whatever it's aware of from moment to moment. Whatever it conceptualizes from moment to moment, that it experiences then and there. The phrase then and there is interesting, isn't it? It's in opposition to now and here. Whatever's happening now and here, we transform through our cognitive process into then and there. We create notions of time and distance. Such experiencing is the very nature of the jiva, even as motion is the nature of wind. When such experiencing ceases, the jiva becomes Brahman. Or the jiva realizes its nature as Brahman. I tend to use the word experiencing for what's going on in an absolute sense, but here it's been talking of in a more relative sense. The jiva experiences something, so it's talking about the jiva experiencing. But really there's only experiencing going on with nobody to experience it.